Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn how to use props in React. So what are props? Actually speaking, whenever you want to send the data from one component to another component as a child component, then whenever you want to pass the data from parent to child, then you can use this props. So how to pass these props in React? So for that sake, let me go into the Visual Studio Code and let's learn a small example. Now, for using props, we need at least two components. One is the child component and one is the parent component. Already we have the default component, that is app.js. Now I want to create a child component. So let me go here and inside my src, let me create a file or a folder called as child, and inside this child I am creating a child.js, and I will be using my function name as child, and let me return this as h1 child component. And now I'm doing an default export default, and I'm using child. Save this. Now I want to inject this particular component in my app, so let me inject that, so that for app component child will be the child component. So let me use child and let me give a self closing tag and save this. Now go here, refresh. There is some problem. The child is not found because we didn't import it. Let me import this, save this. Now go here, you can see the child component. Now what's my agenda is, I have a state which is in app component, that means parent component, and I want to pass that value to my child component, which is like a display component. So whenever there is a state change, then automatically the child value should also change. So now what I'll do is, I'll create a const value with some count, and set count is equal to use state of, I want to give some value like 0. Now what we'll do is, this count value is a random count value. So in general, whenever we see other tutorials, you will be getting bored about this count values, right? So what I'll do is, I'll create a button. On clicking on that button, we'll get a random number and we'll put that random number inside that count. So now what I'll do, I'll create a button, and this button is something like random count value. So now I'm using a on click function, where I can use a callback function, where I can create a function called as random count and call this. So let me copy this and put it over here with a random count as a arrow function. And now for this random count, I want to update the count value. So I'm using set count of, I want to update the count value with math.random of. So you will be getting a random number, and that random number will be updated to your count value. But the display should happen in my child component. So the parent has the data where child has to receive it. So how to receive that value? So whenever you want to send some data from the parent to the child, you can send via props. And how to send that values? Here we can create any keys. For example, I want to create a display value is my property name, and you can give that property name with a value, and the value is equal to my count. That is the current state which is already in the app component. So whenever there is a update in the count, automatically that sends the value to this display value. So this display value I can use and display in my child. But we are able to send the data by using a property called as display value. How to receive in the child? So you can receive that in the child by using first parameter of your function. So you can name it anything. For now I'm naming as props. So let me copy these props and showcase that. So props is always an object, because you can send n number of properties, not only this display value. Even in the future, if you want to send some count value or setter function or anything, you can send via parent to child by using the properties. So I can use these properties on the props object and I can display the value. Save this, and now you can see there is a 0 value, and the generation logic or the updation logic is in my parent. So let me click this. Now there is an update in the value, and it has been updated your display value as well. That is how you are able to send the value from parent to child. Let me click again. You can see how many times you are clicking it, it is getting updated in your child component. And that is how you are able to pass the data from your parent to child. So this is one way to pass the data from parent to child. And there is another way which you can use for sending the data from parent to child. Here we are sending the values, and you can send some string and you can send some data. So whatever the static or primitive or complex data we can send from here. But if you want to send some set of elements itself from your parent to child, how we can do that? We can do that by using closing tag of this child and pass the data in between these two. So that is the main difference of self closing and open and closing tags. So whenever you want to pass some data between the tags, that can be passed by using open and closing tags. But whenever you don't have such scenarios, then go with a self closing tag. That is also one of the main difference between self closing of a React component and open versus close tags in React components. So now I can pass something like paragraph I am from parent and save this. You can pass whole form also if you want, and you can pass only 2 or 3 elements also. But whenever you are passing 2 or 3 elements, you have to use fragment again. So now what I'm doing is I'm passing whole paragraph over here. So let me go here and how to access that. So for accessing it, I can use one more statement. But if you want to write one more statement, this should be wrapped in empty tags or a fragment tags. Now I'm going with the empty tag because I don't have any key to use in my application. So now I'm going with a empty tag, and here I can display by using props.children. There is a property inside your prop, and that property is nothing but children. So whenever you are focusing on a children, it will target this particular child component. So let me go here and you can see I am from parent. So whenever you want to display some HTML content, and if you want to pass that from the parent to child, then you can use props.children. Props.children is a property which is the default property of your props for any of the function. So this is how you can pass the data from parent to child. And there could be a case where you can use the props for sending the data or for sending the action from your child. For example, I don't have the button click over here. Let me cut this and put it over here. So save this. Now we don't have a random button or random count, but what I'll do is I'll send it as a prop. So the random count, the logic is in parent, but the event is in child. So now I'm passing this reference as btn click ref is equal to, I can pass this reference. So now what happens is whenever I click on the particular button, instead of calling random count, I'll try to call props dot button click ref. So when I call this button click ref, it immediately calls this random count and it updates the count value, and the count value will again be sent to your child component and it updates the child component. This is the cycle how it goes. So let me go here. Now the button is in child and the component is also in the child, and I am from parent is a static content which is sent from the parent to child as an HTML element. And when I click this, there is a callback happened from your child component, and it took this reference, it called the referred value, that is random count, which is in our parent component. So these are the 3 ways where you can use your props. You can send the data either a value or by using a HTML element, and all even you can send the functions from your parent component to child component as a reference, and you can pass the values as well. For example, if I want to pass some value, random value like a or a, and I want to console this a value, console.log a. So I want to pass this value. So whenever you are passing, you have to receive that value. So let me receive that value, and the receiver is something like event, whatever we are passing, and the same event I'll pass here. And this is a custom event, so I can pass some value over here like child click event and save this. Go here and let's just go into inspect and console, clear this off, refresh, and now click this. So you can see child click event. You can pass the data even from your child. So that is how you can pass the data from your child component to parent component as well, by passing the reference of that particular function. So this is how you can use props in our React. Hope that's it for this video. If you have any questions, please put on the comments. If you like my explanation, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.